Thank you for double-clicking your mouse tonight. You're listening to the Midnight FrightCast in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Midnight FrightCast episode number 21. I am one of your hosts, Josh, sitting alongside Patrick across the table. And that's it. We're skeleton crewing it tonight. So it's going to be one of those nights where we're like, all right, let's fill some time with two people. So bear with us. But then later on, we got a pretty cool treat coming up. So stick around for that. Got a few things to cover tonight. We're going to start with, yesterday we went to the White Light City Film Festival in Fremont, Nebraska.
That is correct.
We had a film, playing there during the comedy block. We played Love Bites, which was, couple years old now, right?
Yeah, because that was, we played that at Prairie Lights Film Festival last year in 2016.
Yeah. So it was fun seeing that on the big screen again. I don't think I'd really watched it or seen it since.
Yeah, it was kind of fun to revisit that.
Yeah. They had a really weird format, though. Like, it was cutting people's heads off.
Yeah, and I don't know if that was my fault when I had to re-encode it. For the format that they required.
Yeah.
And because I didn't notice that with some of the other films, the others were filling the screen, but ours went to letterbox. So I'm wondering if that was a setting that I missed on the export to the render pro, whatever he needed for his 18 gig file for a 20-minute film.
Yeah.
So that may have been my fault entirely. So
it played differently there yesterday than it did, I feel like, in Prairie Lights. We had a bigger crowd at Prairie Lights.
Yeah.
But it did play differently, I thought, a little bit yesterday. There wasn't the laughs and the spots that it got during Prairie Lights.
Right. And also, well, I also think that, like, when it played at Prairie Lights, it was stuck in the middle of a horror block.
Yeah, that was.
And Love Bites is not a horror film. It's
a rom-com.
It's a rom-com. It is what it is. We need to just call it that because we've been stuck with trying to say that it's a horror comedy.
Yeah.
But it really isn't.
It's got like a
even
horror,
that.
Like a horror element to it because of the vampire thing.
Because it's a vampire thing, but there's no actual horror
in
it. So, I mean, we just need to say, damn it, we did a rom-com.
We did a rom-com. we just gotta eat that one and move on. But it was fun. It was fun watching that one again. We saw a couple other films there that we enjoyed, I would say. We did stay for most of the day. So we saw 3 different blocks out of the 3 of the 5 blocks.
3 of the 5 blocks. And the 5th one we missed because it was something that we'd seen at Prairie Lights Film Festival.
Yeah. Jim Field's Life After X.
Life After X.
Was the last block. So yeah, you want to start with some things that you...
Yeah, and let me grab my notes here. Yeah. But right off the bat, I want to say that White Light City Film Festival is put together by Kevin McMahon. I think he's a one-man show when it comes to doing this. Similar to what Matt Keister did with Prairie Lights when he first started out. We'll probably talk more about the festival itself in just a bit after we talk about a couple of the movies. But Kevin had a film there. He had a couple films there, but there was one that really stood out to me called No Intent that I really enjoyed. It was 2 actors thrust into a scene it was basically started at 90 miles an hour and kind of stayed there. Mm-hmm. And it was interesting to listen to him talk about it afterwards because an actor had come up to him, someone that he had a relationship with in the film community, and said, look, I know they're doing a spinoff of another TV show, and I really want to get onto that show. So let's go to mocksides.com. I've got the script that it's a policeman and someone had just killed his sister, but it's a friend and he did not intend to kill him, all this other stuff. So it's this very high intense dialogue between the two of them with guns drawn. And it looked very professional. It actually, to me, felt like a crime drama going on TV. Yeah, I mean, it's what you would normally see on a television drama like that. I thought he did really well. The acting in it was superb, especially from the guy playing the policeman.
Yeah. What else?
The other one, and I think you like this one as well, was called Cash.
Yeah.
Very clever script.
Favorite of the night.
Very well acted by the three main actors that were in it. There was a fourth young actor in it, and she was fun. But basically about a grandson that takes advantage of his elderly grandmother trying to get money out of her.
She has Alzheimer's.
She suffers from dementia and Alzheimer's and can't remember. And he disguises himself as a priest coming in and trying to get donations for his cause. And it's very entertaining to watch because you could see it develop over time. At first you thought this was a serious thing.
Yeah.
And then it became more and more humorous throughout. And you were able to see his intentions. And I thought it was just very, very cleverly written and well produced.
Yeah. We started off with the very first thing we saw was Jeez Louise. So that was on my list of... It was fun, a little long. It got to a point kind of where it felt like it didn't know where it wanted to go.
Right.
But like there's like a musical number. It started out like really kind of cute and like fun. And then there's at one point like it broke out into like a musical number. And then that was my like WTF moment. Cause I was like, hey, wait, what are we doing now? Wait, reel it back in. But the whole thing was fun and it was really good. It was really well shot. Mary Kerrigan?
Yes.
Directed that.
Yes.
I think it was a little bit older too. It wasn't.
Yeah, I wasn't sure when it was made. There was one of the actors that was there yesterday. We should have asked him.
Oh, was there?
Yeah. The guy who broke down crying at the end.
Yeah. But it was good. It was a lot of fun. It was really good. A Very Fairy Country Club.
Oh yes.
I thought was also up there on the fun level. It was again kind of a cute little comedy that was also in our block.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say this, I don't even care. I like Loch Ness. Loch Ness is Christina Marie Leonard. I do think it played better as a web series because it was started out as a web series.
Yes.
And then when they put it together to show in the block, they just piled it all together as one piece.
Right.
It's a lot easier as a broken up web series when they break those chunks up. But it's fun. It's funny. Viking metal is in it. So how can you not like that?
Nebraska Viking metal.
Yeah.
In the same vein, also there was Asshole Camp. That was there. That was originally a web series that they took out. They took out all the breaks and made it one long piece. I don't want to say long piece because it still ended up being a short.
Yeah.
But I just think some of these things are better in the format that they're designed to be. Because we had the opportunity to see Loch Ness. Well, I've seen it online prior to seeing it at Prairie Lights Film Festival. Yeah. But we're able to see it break up and you get a pause in between and that type of thing.
You get to take a breath.
You get to take a breath.
Yeah.
So sometimes, when you see it without it being broken up and put into these long sections, I don't know if it's as effective as, when it is intended to be a web series, maybe keep it as that, know. But I totally understand what they're doing for putting it out there into the festival scene, that it knocks off a good 5 to 8 minutes of time. Yeah. Instead of showing them back to back.
Yeah. You can catch Asshole Camp and Loch Ness both on YouTube, I believe, as well, if you want to check those out. But yeah, those were my high points.
And No Intent, I found out today is featured on the front page of mocksides.com. And it's because, like I said, that's where they had pulled the script from. So, and it was so well produced that they decided to put it up there and to show an example of what can be done with these scripts.
Yeah. So White Light City Film Festival, it plays in Fremont. That was their third year. I'm guessing it's going to continue, like Prairie Lights is going to continue to go and grow every year. Kevin McMahon, we said put it together. Right.
And it was a little bit different this year from what I understand. We had not attended prior to this. This was our first time attending. But he had a last minute venue change. It's my understanding it was supposed to be at the movie theater in Fremont. I don't know if they have more than one. But it did get moved to the Midland University, the older auditorium at Midland University. So the facilities probably weren't as good as what Kevin had anticipated on having or has had in the past. And the attendance was probably lower than what maybe he was expecting or something like that. But once again, it's only in its third year and it is Fremont, Nebraska. So, we may see this growing over time.
Yeah. And the venue change might have deterred people from coming out as well.
Yeah.
You don't know. So, I mean, I think it'll continue to get up there as it goes along. So, but yeah, it was a good time. And I mean, I'd go back.
I'd go back as well. It'll be interesting to see what, the difference between this year and next year.
Exactly.
To see if the venue change is a permanent thing or if it was just something that happened that was unforeseen.
Yeah. So cool. You want to talk about what we've been watching real quick?
Sure. Do you want to go first?
Yeah. I mean, the two things that it's like two things.
Well, because I've got two things.
Yeah. So, but the two things I watched, we can definitely go back and forth on because we both have seen them. And the reason one of the things I have so few things is because one of the things was Stranger Things 2.
Yes.
And I did not binge watch it.
Right.
I chose not to binge watch it this time because I wanted to sit back after every episode and reflect on that and take the time to reflect on that episode and everybody's like character and everybody's journey and all the end and just sit and think about that episode for a little bit instead of going, okay, I watched that one.
Right.
Now I can go to the next one and just forget about that last one because the next one's probably even better. And don't get me wrong, each episode was better than the last. But last season I binge watched it and I smashed it in a day, and then that day ended, and the next day I found myself depressed because there was no more Stranger Things.
Exactly.
So yeah, and it was hard not to binge watch it, but I just wanted to take the time to soak in every episode this time around and think about that episode.
Stranger Things 2 is also on my list, so yeah, we can bounce this one back and forth. I did not binge watch it. However, there were some episodes I watched back to back. I'm in rehearsal for another show, and so my time is limited yet again, so I catch things like in between work and then when I have to go to rehearsal, that type of thing. I gotta say that this season is better than the first season. I just really, really, really enjoyed this. Because, first season, it's character development. They didn't have to spend as much time on character development this year, except, of course, with the new characters.
The new characters, yeah.
So they could get right to the action, and they did.
Yeah, equal. I call them equal. The first season did spend the whole character building time, letting us getting to know the characters and everything. Season 2 had more action in it. For sure, I would say. But it allowed that because we didn't have to take the time to get to know these characters. I love the addition of Max and Billy. I thought were great. Billy added a whole new antagonist to the story as well.
Yeah.
I loved the Mad Max. I loved the addition of, was it 8? Is that what they're calling her? Number 8?
Well, I can't remember what they called
7?
her, but it was 8.
She had a name, but her number was 8. There was a whole article about how they wrapped her up. That I did send that to you.
You did send it to me. I completely disagree with the article.
Did you read it?
Yeah.
Okay. You see, let's talk about the article then really quickly because we got a second.
Right. And basically the article said that episode was completely unnecessary and was the worst episode of Stranger Things and possibly the worst episode of any series.
That part I do disagree with.
Right.
I would agree though with that it was probably the least effective of the episodes of Stranger Things.
And you and I talked about that there's obviously other ways to tell the story, to bring in that information, that explanation, all of that stuff. And the fact that it was one episode that was, I don't want to say out of sync with the others, but it was separate from the others.
Yeah.
Where it didn't go back and forth a whole lot. So it was kind of like a different chapter. But I guess I'm used to reading like Stephen King novels where he does that all the time.
Yeah, where he's
bouncing back and forth between stories and there's side stories and everything else, but somehow they tie together. So that episode did not bother me as much as it obviously bothered the person who wrote this article. Yeah.
Now, was that the only episode that stuck with one story the whole episode?
I believe
did they drift out of that story at all during that episode? Do you remember?
They drifted a little, but I mean, it was the main core of that was just that group of people.
Yeah, but Stranger Things 2, from episode 1 all the way to the end, it comes out of the gate firing, and it does not really slow down for for 9 episodes, except for that one episode.
Right.
But they set up the new character of 8. We'll call her because I don't know her real name. And then it took 7 episodes to bring her back to really explain who she was.
Well, yeah, because they just had the glimpse of it in the first episode, and from that point on, you're wondering, what was that?
It was fire when that, opening scene.
That's what I said. They started, and they kept going.
Yeah.
Also, the addition of Sean Astin's character, and Bob, and then Paul Reiser.
Yeah.
I just thought those were 2 really great additions to season 2.
Yeah.
Because you needed someone, one, to balance Winona Ryder in more ways than one.
We needed someone to hold her hands down when she talked.
Well, either hold her hands down or hold her up if she's been drinking too much. We all remember that acceptance speech. And then just Paul Reiser is such a good actor that, you know, he's known mostly for Mad About You, working with Helen Hunt on that sitcom that people tend to forget that he did movies as well and still does movies. And,
is that different from any character you've ever seen him play too? He was dark, kind of.
Oh, he was extremely dark in Aliens.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. But it was also one of those, do you trust him, do you not characters.
Exactly.
And I think he plays those types of characters really, really well.
Yeah. They brought him, you saw his character arc really done really well.
Yeah.
During, we're talking about time right now. I'm not gonna lie. We're talking about time right now because,
because we still have a movie to talk about. We're only like 2 into our, what have we been watching?
Yeah.
So the thing is, I mean, like what we could do is, and folks, this is what's going to happen here. We've got this list of things that we want to talk about, but we also have a special guest that we need to bring on at a certain time. And what we may end up doing is saying, hey, we're going to take a break right now, and then we'll give this person a call, get them online, and then we may come back and talk about the film that we wanted to review tonight. Because, we're getting close to the time that we need to give them a call.
We'll wrap up here really quick with what we've been watching.
We got a little bit of time yet.
So Stranger Things, if you have not watched it, it took me a while to watch it also, but if you have not watched it, chase that because it is definitely worth it. If you haven't watched any of it, start with season 1, obviously, and go all the way through season 2. I recommend you don't binge watch it and just reflect on every episode and soak that in and really get that.
There's another show on in regards to Stranger Things. It's called After Stranger Things.
Yes.
After you're done watching Stranger Things, check that out. I want to say it's like Talking Dead after The Walking Dead, except they do it. They cover the entire season. So I wish they kind of done it where they tackled each episode, so you could watch an episode, then watch an episode of After Stranger Things, and they just talk about that episode, so you can digest and dissect. Yeah. But no, they did it differently because obviously they dropped the entire series on one day. So it's kind of like, okay, but they do, they bring in all the actors, they bring in the directors, they bring in the Duffer Brothers, they talk to these people, and you get some really great insight into Stranger Things. Yeah. So that's another thing, to watch.
The other thing I watched, really quickly, and again, we both have seen this, was Hard Candy. I revisited that. I'm a big fan of that movie. I started writing something a few years ago also that I have not been able to finish, and I have not been able to fix. It came from watching Hard Candy, and I tried to develop something differently, and it just was not working. So I went back and rewatched it, only because it's a really great movie, but because I'm trying to figure out my own writing journey with this other thing that I at least want to finish. Right. Even if I don't ever do anything with it, I at least want to finish it. That's a goal of mine, to start finishing the shit I start. So, Hard Candy is the other thing I watched.
We'll talk about Hard Candy real quick.
Ellen Page and Patrick Wilson. Patrick Wilson plays a photographer who has been talking to
whom he thinks is a
14-year-old girl played by Ellen Page, and he meets her at a coffee shop, and they get to talking, and she kind of convinces him. Is that kind of how it goes? Or they kind of convince each other that she's going to go back to his place. And they do some drinking, and they get to talking, and she spikes his drink.
He's out.
It ties him up.
There's a lot of revenge.
Yes, it's very much I don't know if revenge film, but it's very much like, I know what you've been doing, right? And it's time to teach you a lesson,
right? But the mental mind games go back and forth.
It's very cat and mouse.
Yeah. Yeah. If you want to feel uncomfortable, this movie makes you, especially as a guy watching it, you know, it's intense.
Yeah. There's a lot of moments in there where you're just, I don't want to say that this is going to sound really bad, but I'm going to go ahead and throw it out there anyway, because it's not me defending. It's just saying you don't know who to feel bad for at times.
That's correct. No, I would agree with you on that. I would agree with you on that.
Because Patrick Wilson his character has done, we find this out, has done some very bad things. Mm-hmm. But on the back end of that, Ellen Page's character, is she justified in doing what she's doing? Right. I guess.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Kind of?
Yeah.
Because she goes extreme. It's not like, oh, I figured this out. Now I'm going to call the police and I'm going to let them deal with this problem. Did you hear some cracking?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
That was weird.
She skips that whole police part and just goes straight to, I'm going to do some things that you're not going to like.
And this is an older movie too.
Yeah, it's
like
2003,
something like that.
Yeah,
it's early 2000s. Yeah. So, I mean, Ellen Page looks very young the way it is. Imagine her, I think she was in her early 20s doing this.
Yeah.
Playing a teenager. And this was probably the first thing I'd seen her do. And I felt very uncomfortable with the situations just because I thought that maybe she was that young.
2005.
205?
Yeah.
Or 2005.
Yeah.
And, you know, having a daughter the same age and stuff like that, that really, you know, made it even more uncomfortable for me, knowing that this shit happens, you know. So as uncomfortable as it made me feel, it is a phenomenal movie.
It's really good.
And I definitely recommend it for people to see.
Yeah.
It's one of those things, you get two phenomenal actors together, and magic just happens.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, Margaret Cho's in it. She makes an appearance. Otherwise, a really small cast. I think it's those kind of three, but mainly just those two in a house.
You know, well, in the coffee house.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really minor locations.
So those are the things I have been watching.
I have one more thing with what I've been watching. Did you mean Sandra Oh, by the way?
Did I say I said Margaret Cho, didn't I?
Margaret Cho.
Okay, well, Sandra Oh. There's an actress named Margaret Cho, though, and I could have swore that was
she's a comedian, isn't she?
She is a comedian, yeah.
Yeah.
But, I really fucked that up, didn't I?
Well, I was confused for a moment. Yeah, I could definitely edit it out. I could.
Yeah.
I'm not going to.
Oh,
no, and then the other thing I was watching, I was getting caught up with American Horror Story Cult. I am now caught up with that, believing this is probably the second best season of American Horror Story. Really? If not the best. I still put first season up there as one of my favorites, and this one is... You are blindsided every episode.
Really?
It's insane. I
hear it's a mixed bag of nuts. You either like it or you're not liking it. So it's better than Hotel, better than Asylum?
I think it's better than Hotel. I think it's better than Asylum. Well, Asylum kind of, to me, 50% of it was amazing. The other 50% I kind of went, what?
Got weird, yeah.
It just got weird.
Yeah.
And if you're an Evan Peters fan, you will really dig this one because he's a major player in it. And not only does he play the main character, he plays multiple characters because they have these flashbacks to other cults. And he plays the cult leaders in all of these different things.
Damn it.
So that's not giving anything away. That's not a spoiler.
No.
Because
I've been refusing to chase this. And
because you're watching it and you go, oh my God, this Evan Peters playing that part. So, so if you're an Evan Peters fan, Sarah Paulson knocks it out of the park. She's an amazing actress.
Yeah.
Chaz Bono does a good job in this, which just
I heard.
surprised the hell out of me.
Real quick before we wrap this up, how's Walking Dead for me? For kind of going this
year?
You
know what? I'm completely caught up on it, and I really like this season. I know a lot of people are kind of going, there's not enough character development. But then, then like last year, they're saying there's not enough action.
Yeah.
And it's like, what do you want? They're responding to the audience. But if you follow the graphic novel, All Out War is All Out War in the graphic novel. There's not a lot of dialogue in the books.
Is that what this season is?
That's what this season is All Out War.
Gotcha.
So
cool.
So I think we're going to wrap up this section.
Yeah,
right?
take a break. And come back with our guests.
Yeah, we got some technical things we got to work out before we get back. So
cool.
So we'll see you in a little bit.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Midnight FrightCast. Joining us here, this is our special guest we were talking about earlier. Super excited we haven't done this for a while. We haven't had a guest on the FrightCast since the origination.
Since relaunching it.
Since relaunching it. So, and our guest tonight actually was on the FrightCast again in its original form when we were doing it a while back. So joining us here tonight, super excited to talk to Benito Garcia of Wetworks SFX.
Say hi. Super happy to be on the show.
We're going to try to start bringing in more guests. We want to talk to some people. We want to kind of get out there and talk to other filmmakers in Nebraska. And I think this is kind of a cool way to go about it. So it's cool to have Ben back on as a first guest. The things that I wanted to kind of cover with Ben were, the first thing I wanted to talk about, Ben, really quick was you had a screening at the Prairie Lights Film Festival, and we tried to get you there, and it just got super busy, and it was a kind of crazy weekend. So we wanted to talk to you about the short that you screened at Prairie Lights.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I'm always happy to talk about that. That was quite a controversial film.
Yeah, so that was kind of the big thing was that seemed like the film that everybody was kind of sort of talking about.
Well, everybody was anticipating it because it was put into the program with a bunch of question marks. Nobody knew what it was, who it was, or anything like that. And so, Ben, talk to us about the short film called Down Under.
Well, what's funny about it is it didn't originate as far as Prairie Lights goes. Prairie Lights goes as a secret film. When they were doing their Mark and Matt were doing their podcast for the Prairie Lights, they had me on as a guest. I talked about the film. We talked about, I think, a lot of things we're going to talk about tonight. And we got to the very end after an hour's worth of interview, and I can't remember who said it. I think it might have been Matt. And he said, you know what would be cool is if we brought this film on as a secret film, secret director, nobody knows what anything's about the film, who made it, who's in it. And we all said, God, that's a great idea. So we just completely scrapped that whole podcast and the hour-long interview, and they just decided that they put it up that way. And we all, at the time, thought it was a great idea.
So where did this idea come from? You've had films at Prairie Lights Film Festival before, but that was your first horror film that you made that was at the festival. Why did you finally decide to dive into that genre?
Well, you're right. In all the films I've ever had at Prairie Lights, I had never done anything for myself that was horror related. It was literally always, I don't know. I don't think we've even done a comedy. I think all of them were pretty serious or sort of a thriller type thing. And so I thought, well, it's probably time that, since I own a special effects company and we deal with horror movies all the time, I should probably maybe do one. And so I had some ideas on what to do, and I thought it might be kind of fun to do something that wasn't super gory, because I get a chance to do that on everyone else's films. But still, I kind of like the idea of scaring people, but not that I necessarily scared them. I just gave them all the components and all the pieces for them to scare themselves and gross themselves out. So I kind of thought that might be kind of fun to do as an experimental thing.
During the talk back at Prairie Lights, you had brought up the point that everybody's imagination is always worse than what you can put up in front of them on the screen. Now, how did you approach that? We
had actually done a trailer for a web series called The Demonic. That's what it's called. It never got off the ground, but I really wanted to film something, again, where we didn't give everything away. So what we did is we shot it sort of Evil Dead style, where the entity is coming through the woods and cutting through the trees and chasing whoever it is, trying to get to the cabin. And so that's what we did in The Demonic, and we had a girl victim, her back was slashed wide open, and her shirt was ripped, and there's blood everywhere. And the camera chased her down through the woods and to a house. And when it almost got her, she ran around to the side of the house. She ran down into a basement, locked herself in not a cellar door, a room in the basement of this house. She didn't even know who the house belonged to. And when she locked herself in there, she had a lighter for just enough light kind of to, illuminate her face. But then, of course, that goes out. And then so you hear everything that's happening outside of the room that she's hiding in. So the demon had come in. You hear things crashing, and then you hear another person come in, there's a fight, gunshots, the creature's growling, a couple of shots, you sort of hear it start to die, and the door swings open, and it's the hero that had came and killed the demon. And so I kind of like that idea of playing around with imagining what the demon looked like. We never actually showed it, so it was up to you to figure it out. And so that's sort of where that stemmed from. So in making the film, we sort of did the same thing. It's just we gave the victim an opportunity to peek underneath the door. So I wanted to attack as many senses as I could. So not only did your victim in the closet, who'd been abducted by a serial killer, hear what's happening outside of the room that he's thrown her in, which was just a little closet, she could actually peek under the door and look across the hallway at basically another door. And so you're in her shoes. You're imagining what's happening on the other side of that door as the killer would come and go out of that room. And I just thought, what's the most horrific thing I could think of, but not show it? And of course, that's chopping up babies with chainsaws.
I was gonna sit on that. I wasn't gonna give it away because,
right.
So that's what we did. We worked really hard on music to set the tone. The opening sequence of the short film was a super juxtaposition film of Happiest Girl in the Whole USA, which is a super fun, campy 60s, 70s sort of fun song, folky song. And the whole time that's playing, then of course you see that the victim is a female. She has a gunny sack on her head. She's tied up, backseat of a Jeep, and just, getting drugged down some stairs and thrown into a closet. And the whole time in the background is this super happy, campy, happy girl song. So then we worked really hard on Foley sounds as far as things that were happening outside of the door. Some of the time she didn't peek under the door right away, so then you had to imagine what's happening outside of that pitch black closet. And it was just we showed some shoes of the killer, and we showed, a little bit of his pant legs when she looked under the door. But a lot of times when he interacted with the person across the room from her, the door was closed. So you had to use your imagination of what he was doing to the poor woman in that room, as far as beating her and slapping her around and some things like that.
Now, you had some creative use of the space as well. If I remember correctly, the rooms that you filmed in was actually just one room, correct?
Yeah, that's funny that you said that. I was never going to give that away, but I was so proud of how it came across on the big screen. I gave the secret away right away. But yeah, everything was shot. When the victim is in the closet and she leans down and peeks underneath and she's looking across the hallway to another room, that was literally the room she was in. We shot everything using the same door. We just we moved some things around and piled some things on, beside the door when it was the other girl in the other room, and we had painted some chip pieces of paint on the bottom of the door so the door looked a little different. But yeah, everything you saw was literally the same door every shot. We were able to trick you thinking that it was flipped and that she was seeing across the hallway at another door.
Was that a quick turnaround from script to screen as far as coming up with the idea, writing it, and shooting it and everything?
Yeah, fairly well. It didn't take a whole lot of writing. It was more of just a concept and idea. And so there's really no scripted dialogue. There's some, but it's really just the killer talking at a door, threatening the person on the other side. So really it was more of writing down shot ideas and again, messing with people's senses. So it was a lot of just kind of notes here and there of sounds that we could use and shots and angles that we could use to pull this off. As far as writing it, that went fairly quick. It probably took me 2 or 3 days to kind of sort of get all the ideas together and then figure out how to film everything through one door, flip around, film everything through looking at the door again, but in a different sequence. And then, of course, there was some outside location shooting. We shot it all 2 full days for sure, and then, of course, editing took quite a while to get done. But it was definitely an experimental type film, so there wasn't a whole lot of story to tell before you see the victim, and there's not a whole lot to tell after. Again, that was all part of using your imagination. You had to figure out how she got kidnapped, and then at the end when he grabs the doorknob and swings the door open and she screams, then you use your imagination to figure out what happens next.
So So the film was called Down Under, and Mark spoke with an Australian dialect. So was this film based on a true story?
It was. It was actually based on Australia has had tons of serial killers, and with the bush and the outback, it's pretty easy to dispose of a body. So they really don't even know how many serial killers or serial killer victims they really ever had in that country. But we did base it on the slang term was the backpack killer. But if you ever saw the movie Wolf Creek was based on this same guy, and he sort of kind of looked like Mark Popejoy, and we knew we weren't really going to show Mark's face, but body shape, height, weight, all those things pretty well matched the actual killer himself. So, and I'm looking up his name right now. I'm trying to remember what it is. Yeah, his name's Ivan Milat, Milat.
Okay.
He killed several people. So I thought this is great. And what's really funny is I told Mark, I said, work on an Australian accent. When you come in to shoot, we'll have you read your lines, but then we'll come back in a few months and we'll do voiceover. And we had really good audio while we're running his lines. And as we got closer to, I didn't really know the deadline was coming up for the DVD sampler. And then Matt had got a hold of me and said, hey, if you want to be on the DVD sampler, this is what I need to film. So I was like, oh, shit. We were going to do the audio work, the voiceover stuff with Mark. So the Australian accent we got is what we got. So, but it was okay. I thought it was fine. I think it translated to, it was definitely a foreign person, and it was close enough to Australian to pull it off. But, the film wasn't really about the accent or the killer's voice so much as what he said and what he implied. So I was perfectly happy with what we had.
As controversial as the film was at Prairie Lights, it was definitely one of the favorites that played there. You have a great eye, and it's a lot of fun whenever you have something screening there. But I want to talk about, really quick, because I know you're short on time, I want to talk about your book.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks for bringing that up. I appreciate that.
Where did the book idea come from, and what stage is it in right now?
I've always sort of wanted to do something as far as the special effects book goes. I grew up, reading Fangoria magazine, which I think a lot of people did, Starlog and Gore Zone and all those great magazines of my childhood. And of course, along the way, there's makeup books that had come out. Tom Savini had a couple of different volumes of one called Grand Illusion. Dick Smith had books out. Rick Baker. There's tons and tons and tons of makeup, special effects makeup books out there. And I just did not want to be another special effects makeup book out there, especially when all the great people have already done them. And those are the books that most of us have learned from. So it's always been in my head to do something. I just wasn't sure what. And one of our films had come along. We've gotten a script. And once we get a script, we break it down into what the special effects are going to be and what we're going to need for materials. And then we start to research, just as an example, if it said female gets her throat cut by killer. So then I go online and I start looking at, at this point in my career, I know what a cut throat looks like, but just as an example, I go online and I start to research some photos and some things of real life injuries. What happens is, a lot of the times the pictures you find are pretty good until you click on them and they're really small, or they're fuzzy or blurry, or you're literally searching through hundreds and hundreds of images that have nothing to do with the keywords you typed in searching for the injury. And it really gets frustrating and it wastes a lot of time. So I was talking to my wife, I was talking to Megan about it one day. And she said, it's too bad there's not a book out there that just kind of has reference photos to different injuries. And I said, you know what, there could be. There's not, but there could be. And as I did some research, there are a lot of medical books out there, forensic books, and pathology books and things like that. But the problem is they're hundreds of dollars. Some of them are hard to acquire unless you go to a medical library. So it's really just access and getting your hands on those types of books. It's tough to do. So I sat down and I went online, and I kind of started looking at some different high-quality photos of injuries and skin conditions and this and that. And I thought, if I just put this together in a book, broke it down into chapters, it would be a great quick reference guide, and it would be a reference guide just for us being in the special effects makeup field. So we're not borrowing from surgical books, or we're not borrowing from pathology books and things like that. We'd actually have our own reference guide. find some places that supply those actual type of images. The problem is you have to buy them, and then there's certain criteria you have to meet, put them into a publication, and things like that. But it's really worth it because the images are very high quality, HD quality, and there's several different chapters out there that I was able to write based on the photos that are available. So what's cool is if you go to look at these things online, and you go to these particular websites that supply these photos, they have watermarks on them, and they're just a little bit blurry, a little out of focus, and they put X's and they write words all over them, watermarks, so you can't literally use them for anything. But once you download them, if you purchase the photo, you download them, then you get this beautiful, high quality, very vivid photo. So it started to come together from that.
Now you put a call out to Facebook also, and kind of asked Facebook for all your gory, gross injuries, and you got a pretty good response from that as well, didn't you?
Yes, that was really funny. This is at the time when I started the book, and I realized how expensive the photos are. Photos range anywhere from $180 for a quarter-page size photo to upwards of $600 per photo. And I thought, gosh, what would be fun is if I just put the word out on Facebook. People love to talk about their injuries. They love to show them off, talk about scars. I mean, I've got 100 stories based on all my scars I love to tell. So on my Facebook page, when the book was really in its infancy as far as figuring out some photos, I just posted on there, hey, if anybody has any sort of traumatic injuries or stitches or bruising, anything that's happened to you, message me, send me the pictures. If I can use them in the book, if the quality is good enough, I'm more than happy to give you credit in the book. You'll have your photo in the book. It'll make, however many copies we make of this thing, and you'll be immortalized forever. I think what happened was a lot of people had missed the part where I said, message me your photos. And everybody was so excited to start sending them in, they just commented or just sent them to the comments section of my Facebook page. So literally I just had dozens of these horrific, bloody, gross images on the front page of my Facebook profile. It was a kick, and everybody was more than happy. I can't even tell you how many really, really cool photos that I got, and that was just round one. So we'll do another round here pretty soon.
Now you've got this up on Indiegogo, correct?
I do. I have a GoFundMe campaign for it. Originally, I didn't think I would do one. I thought, I just want to do this on my own, and not that I have anything against GoFundMe, because a lot of really cool, great projects have come from those. And it became pretty evident pretty quickly when I started researching the photos, and I don't want to just steal something off the line because it belongs to somebody. Somebody's going to want credit for that photo. So that's when I started going to these photo bank websites, and particularly medical ones. And that's when I found out that, like I said, some of them are upwards of $600 for a photograph. And, the company takes a cut, and then they pay a royalty to the person that took the photo or who owns the photo. And so pretty quickly I realized that if we're going to do a 100-page full-color book with some traumatic injuries and skin conditions, I'm going to have some help. So that's when we launched the GoFundMe program. It came out pretty strong. In the first 2 weeks out of a 5,000 goal, I think we were at, my last count was almost 1,800 in the first week and a half. So
nice. Very good.
So it's been going really, really well, and I so much appreciate everybody that's helped with the books with either photos and permission to use them, or a $5 donation or a $1,000 donation. It's really been a cool deal.
So where are you now? What stage are you in kind of in the book? And then, do you have a timeline as far as finishing the book up?
Those are both really good questions. Right now I'm still gathering photos. When I need a break from all the gore and the goo and the slime and the grody skin diseases, then I sit down and I write a couple of chapters. And it's been helping me stay focused. If I write a chapter on burns, and I talk about, first, second, third degree burns, and there's chemical burns and electrical burns and fire burns, writing that chapter then really focuses me to the next step, that now I can get off that chapter and I can go look for those very specific images instead of just kind of pulling things willy-nilly, thinking I'm going to write a chapter about those later. So it's been kind of a combination of writing and collecting photos. As far as putting photos to pages yet, we haven't actually done that part yet. So I'm thinking, I'm hoping late spring that the book will be done because I want to book some shows, some cons and stuff to take the book to.
Well, let's talk about really quick future projects. What do you got? What else you got in the pipeline? You guys are always busy at Wetworks, so what do you guys got going now?
Oh, we are always busy. Yeah, this is normally our slow period. By the time the end of fall gets here and we just start stepping into winter, we finally get to take a breath and relax and calm down, and then sometime in the spring is usually when we pick back up and people start sending us their projects to work on. But the book is taking up all of my time right now with that. But I do know that when spring does get here, we've got a short film that we're doing for, I believe it's going to be part of the Chills Down Your Spine anthology. Not anthology. What am I thinking of? What's the word? So we're going to do a film for that. It's called Bed and Breakfast. That's going to be kind of exciting. We get to do some fun things with headcasts and some creature creations. And then I also know the other thing that's coming along after that is we're doing I'm not letting too much of the cat out of the bag here, but I think it started out as a short, and now maybe it's going to be a feature, and it's going to be sort of an homage to the Puppet Master movies. So I know that we've got 4 or 5 killer puppets to build as it gets closer to spring, so I'm super excited about that.
We know you got to get back to work, Ben. So real quick before we let you go, where can we find you? Where can everybody find your stuff? How can we follow your book? All that stuff. Let us know.
Okay, for sure. Let's start with just Wetworks in general, the special effects company. We're really easy to find on Facebook. If you just type in Wetworks Special Effects, let me think how that's written out. I think it's Wetworks and then SFX Studios. If you just type that in on Facebook, you can find our Facebook page that way. The exact same thing on Instagram. Most of what we post starts out on Instagram, and then we sort of share it over to Facebook, and then I manually put some things in on the Facebook page. But same thing on Instagram. It's It's Instagram.com/ and it's all one word. It's Wetworks SFX Studios, and then you'll be able to get to us on there. And then as far as the book goes, it's really simple to get to the GoFundMe. You can look up Benito Garcia, and of course, like I said, it's usually plastered all over my page right now until we wind up the campaign. But otherwise, it's www.gofundme.com/Wetworks. I think we're going to try to do a telethon in the next couple of weeks. I think we'll do a live Facebook streaming thing where I'm going to have some guests come on and talk, and they can promote the things they have going on, and they have some kind of cool special skills that we'll do a live show with, and people can call in during the telethon like in the olden days and, get on the air and say, I donate whatever, $5-10, and we'll raise the roof and cheer them on, and it's just going to be a good time, I think. So watch for that in the next couple of weeks.
Well, thanks for coming and hanging out with us, Ben, and taking some time. So we know you're at work, so we know you're busy. But yeah, thanks for coming and hanging out with us. Check out Benito Garcia and Wetworks SFX on Facebook.
Yeah, and you guys do. I love everything you guys do. I'm so glad that we're all such good friends, and that so we all hang out in the same circles.
Yeah, awesome. So thanks, Ben. We're going to wrap this up, and we'll come back with the Midnight FrightCast feature segment. We're going to talk about Train to Busan.
All right, you guys take it easy. Thank you.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Midnight FrightCast. We're going to talk about our feature film that we watched this week. Really awesome film that I've been kind of pushing on these guys for a while now. And so I'm super excited to talk about it. We're going to chat about Train to Busan. Patrick is going to give us the old scoop on what it's about.
Yeah, it's a one-liner here. It's Train to Busan. It's a 2016 film from South Korea.
Okay.
While a zombie virus breaks out in South Korea, passengers struggle to survive on the train from Seoul to Busan.
And obviously, we're not going to be able to drop any actors' names.
Yeah, that's going to be really hard to do that.
They're kind of rough to maybe pronounce, and
On let's see, IMDb gave it 7.5 out of 10 stars, and as I jump on over to Rotten Tomatoes, 95% on the tomato meter with 88% for the audience score. So this is a very popular movie.
Yeah. I've seen it now probably 4 or 5 times. And this is no like short watch either. It's a couple hours long.
Right.
So it's a sit.
It is 2 hours long.
But you'd never know it. It goes, it doesn't start fast. It starts like, this is what I love right out of the gate. It builds a relationship right out of the gate between the dad and the daughter.
Yes.
So you get to know about 20 minutes worth of like building that.
Mm-hmm.
Is it that long maybe? Of building that relationship between these two characters.
Right. And it really establishes the father's character pretty well at the beginning as well, because he starts off in his office space. You kind of learn a little bit about what his mentality is when it comes to business, and then how it affects his family at home, and what type of relationship he has with his daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When he brings that birthday gift home, and gives her the birthday gift, and she opens it and she sees that he gave her something that she already has.
Yeah.
You can tell right there, like, that's somebody that is either busy or just really forgetful.
Or just not involved.
Yeah, or not involved. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you get to know right out of the gate these two characters, this relationship, and who you're going to follow pretty much through the whole film. But it also does that once you get on the train. There's different groups they focus on once they get on the train as well, that they give you time to get to know as well. It's a husband and wife, a baseball team kind of, and then 2 sisters that are on the train.
And then there's the homeless man.
And then the homeless man that is on the train as well. And you follow these characters as well. You follow them as a group, but you get to know these characters and who they are. And I'm super happy that they take the time to build these characters so you do get to know them and ultimately care about who they are.
Right.
Because bad things happen to these people. And if I didn't give a shit, then I wouldn't give a shit. But because they spend so much time letting you kind of into their world, when bad things happen to these people, it is rough to watch.
Well, and not only that, it's kind of they establish these characters in a way that it gives you the opportunity to like them or not like them.
Yes.
Because there's some characters you definitely don't like in this one.
There is a businesman that I want to kick in the nuts for 2 hours.
Right.
Yeah, it's not a movie that it's a movie that it does take the time to set these up, but once they get on that train and once things get going,
it goes.
It goes, and
it is. It is a train ride the entire time. It's a literal train ride.
They get off, I think, one time in a train station, but then there's this train station like moment where like all the action's in this train station, and they're like running through it, and they're being chased by these straight out of 28 Days Later zombies. Really, it's
now this is my thing. I don't know that I can classify this as a zombie movie because
do they ever say the word zombie?
I don't believe they say the word zombie, but of course
they say monsters.
I don't speak Korean, but it is subtitled. Yeah. Yes, don't look at me that way. But the thing is, I don't think they had to die to turn.
They got bit. Never died. And the turn was like instant.
Almost instantaneously, yeah. Some of them it took a little bit longer, but...
Yeah, they twitched for a little bit longer than everybody else. But they never really
died, so that's why I was wondering, it's a virus.
It's a virus.
It's not... Yeah. A lot of zombie things are viruses, but I don't think to me, it's not a zombie movie because it's a virus that takes control of them, so...
Now, then you take out 28 Days Later because then that would not be a zombie movie either. But I think we've had that fight before, whether it's a zombie movie or not.
Technically they're dead if you think about it.
Yeah, but their infection is spread through blood, and not even necessarily through a bite. So back to Train to Busan. It is straight out of 28 Days Later. Those zombies or infected people,
the creatures.
They move fast.
Oh my gosh!
It's not slow moving. Everybody's turn. It's like they hired a bunch of contortionists to do this movie.
I thought it was such an excellent blend of practical and digital effects because some of the things that they did on there was obviously practical with the contortionists and everything else. But there were some things that happened that had to be a mix between like the dropping from the helicopters. Do you remember that?
I don't remember that.
Okay. I don't want to give away anything here. We can talk about that. But
where was that in the film?
About the first it's in the first act when they're watching the stuff on TV.
Okay.
Yeah, it's when the people on the train are first watching what's going on the TV.
Okay, gotcha.
But and other places where it was obvious there's no way they could have done it practically.
Where they're falling off the train.
Exactly.
The top of the train and during the station where they're falling from high places.
Falling from high places and they land and then immediately they get back up and start chasing people. Yeah. It's like there's no way anybody could have survived those falls.
Yeah.
And then do what they did afterwards. And like you said, the contortionists, wow.
Yeah.
You know, they're people that were, you know, that's obviously they could dislocate their shoulders and do stuff like that. It was really, really amazing.
I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall in that, during that movement class. Because, you know, like when they do these when they do these movies, they get a group of people together, they put them in a room and or for the audition or whatever, they're like, okay, now show me how you would move. Yeah. And when they cast the extras, they always do a weird like class, like this is how I want you to move or show me how you move. I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall in that movement class just to watch and just to see how they developed because really ultimately they all kind of move the same. Mm-hmm. Like usually when you do like a zombie movie, they're like, this is how I want you to, you know, kind of walk or whatever, or do this kind of thing. They all kind of moved the same a little bit in this movie, but so it's like they were going for a
very certain look. Yeah. And some of you talked about them being very fast. I think they also did something.
They sped that shit up in post.
They had to sped it up in post. Like they had their normal actors move slower and the infected were doing full speed. Yeah. So that when they sped it up, it looked like the actors were at regular speed, but then they looked at like they were super hyper sped up. It was, but it was so effective though.
Yeah. It was really smartly written though too. All this, like there's little details, like all the things like on the train, like when they go into the tunnels and all the lights went out and then all of a sudden these things can't see you anymore. Mm-hmm. It's little things like that they added that
it was well thought out. Yeah.
Super smart when it came to writing this thing and putting it together. It's not like your typical zombie movie.
No.
I'm going to say zombie because I don't know other way to like put it. Infected movie, whatever. Beyond, since 28 Days Later, and then maybe Zack Snyder's like remake of Dawn of the Dead. This is the best one I think to date that has come out as far as what I've seen.
Well, you know, they tried with was that horrible Brad Pitt one, World War Z. Yeah. You know, things like that where they tried to do it on a mass quantity. And let me tell you, there are tons of infected in this movie.
Yeah.
Tons.
It's crazy.
It was super effective. You know, it could have been digitally done, but it looked practical to me when they showed those mass crowds. So hats off to the director and the people working in post in this movie. Very effective in the sense of surprises as well. Mm-hmm. And I'm sorry, I got to say this, and I don't mean this, except with all due respect, Asians know how to make horror movies.
They do.
They really do.
A lot of their stuff it comes from like myth or like stories that they're told, like, what's the word I'm looking for? It's like our version of
like urban legend
like
type things like that.
Their urban legends though are just 20 times creepier. Right. And they're all based off of just these creatures that they think are like they're real. Mm-hmm.
But there's also something to be said for the realism and letting the imagination go. Mm-hmm. This is one where they showed a lot more than they normally would, like in Ringu or something like that. However, it's just they just seem to be really in touch with what affects you as the viewer.
Yeah.
And I really appreciated that about this movie.
They know how to set up some serious tension, for sure.
Exactly.
And make you, like I said, and make you think and make you kind of scare the shit out of yourself.
Yeah. And talking about making you think, this movie I felt was more than just a horror movie. I think it was a social commentary because it was from beginning to end. To me, it was about people making choices. And those choices were those type of people who would do anything to survive and those people who would do anything to do the right thing. Mm-hmm. And some people changed during the course of this, but it was always a choice because if you noticed, when things would slow down a little bit, it was when they were deciding what to do even if it was a life or death thing that needed to be done within seconds.
Yeah.
They still took the time to focus on, it was almost like a choose your own adventure type thing.
Yeah.
So to me, it was I felt that they were trying to go for the social commentary on the choices that we make.
It's also a heartstring puller as well. I have a daughter. You do. And you, speaking of kind of talking about you doing anything and everything to make sure that person
is safe. Yeah.
And I will tell you, this movie, and I'm not going to give away the end, but I've seen this movie 4 or 5 times and I weep like a fucking child when this ending comes around.
I'm also curious if there were 2 endings, and I need to do more research on it because I saw a review that said something happened at the end, which wasn't what I saw. So I need to, and you and I will talk about that off air because I don't want to talk about the ending because it's a very effective ending the way it is right now. But I'm just curious if there was a second ending or an alternate ending. Maybe
there might be. I have the Blu-ray at home.
Okay.
There might be an alternate ending and I'll look for that.
Yeah.
And if they have one, I will share that with you.
Yeah. It was a review I saw on Rotten Tomatoes. It was an audience reviewer.
Okay.
And they said something. I went, well, that's not what I saw. So.
Yeah, I'll have to look that up.
There's also something that I saw on that review thing, and I thought they were absolutely right. They said it was the Poseidon Adventure, except on a train. Have you ever seen the movie The Poseidon Adventure?
Oh God, they did a remake of that movie, right?
I believe so.
It's when
the boat turns upside down and they have to work their way back up to the bottom of the boat in order to survive. And people are doing the same thing. They're sacrificing themselves, but there's also people who would sacrifice somebody else just to be the person who comes out of the top of that bottom of the boat.
Yeah.
I just thought that was an interesting, one, that anybody would remember what the Poseidon Adventure was.
Yeah.
But I just thought that was an interesting comparison.
Any other thoughts, Patrick, on that movie?
I just think you should see it.
Yeah, it's free on Netflix.
Yeah.
It's on Netflix right now. No excuse not to chase that movie.
No. It is subtitled. You can read what they're saying. It's not distracting from the action that's going on because even though there's decent amount of dialogue, it's pretty simplistic. Acting, I think, is really, really good. There was only like one person that I thought was over the top, and that was someone who turned.
Okay.
Early. It was a minor thing.
Okay.
Didn't affect the enjoyment of the movie at all for me. But I think I give it a solid 9.
Yeah, I'm right there. I'm right there on that same number.
And I hope to God they don't try to do an American version of it.
They're talking about it already. I know. Well, they've been talking about it for a while. I really hope it's something that falls through and they don't do it.
Yeah.
There's no reason to do it. You can't do it better.
No.
I will tell you that right now. You're not going to do it better. You're not going to pull the same emotions, I don't think, out of anybody the way this was done. And solid 9.
Yeah.
And again, no excuse not to watch it. It's free on Netflix. So if you have that, chase that movie. It is, it's 2016 and it's probably one of my favorites of 2016.
Yeah.
So
by far, I saved it for my last one of the 31 Days of Horror challenge, and I'm glad I did.
Yeah.
That way ended the challenge with a really, really good movie. So,
yeah.
Excellent.
We will wrap this up now. Do you want to do plugs, Patrick?
I don't have any plugs right now. We're done with the festivals for a little while. We're talking about what we're going to be doing next. We've got some big plans in the pipes for us. Just planning out the year. Yeah. We've got a couple meetings set up that we're going to be deciding what those projects are, and we'll probably announce shortly after that what we're planning on doing. Other than that, we got Tom and I are in a show called Soda Pop. It's going to be playing at the Haymarket Theater. Tell you the truth, I don't even know what day we open. Isn't that pathetic? It's the week after Thanksgiving, so that's what, December something. And then we end on the 9th.
You guys open on the 30th?
We open on the 30th.
Thursday.
Yes.
And
that's absolutely right. We go
2 weeks.
We go November 30th through December. I'm reading this upside down. December
10th? Do you guys go through Sunday?
3rd, and then we go the 7th through the 9th.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't
2
have
weeks.
a final Sunday performance. But Soda Pop is a 1950s lip sync musical. It's a total send up to life in the 1950s, and all the teenagers are played by 50-year-old people like myself.
Yeah, and it's like the 3rd time you guys have done it, so you guys have it down pat now,
you know,
right?
The next time we're going to do it in walkers and wheelchairs. So yeah.
Otherwise, check us out at midnightfrightfilms.com. You can find us on Facebook at Midnight Fright Films, also the Midnight FrightCast. Check out our YouTube page. We got Midnight Fright Films on there. And you can check us out on the Insta of Grams, Midnight Fright Films. We're all over the place. Check us out. Got a ton of stuff on YouTube. And there's going to be a ton more coming here soon. We just dropped Ghost Hunters on there not that long ago. So if you haven't been on there recently, Ghost Hunters is brand new. It's there. Got a very good reaction at Prairie Lights Film Festival. And, just chase our stuff. Yeah. So otherwise, we got a full house coming back on the next podcast. We'll have Greg back. Hopefully Tom will be sitting in there with us, and the 4 will be back again on the next Midnight FrightCast. So other than that, I think
that's it.
Time to say peace out.
Boy Scout.